Hey, this is Mike from IntroStars, and today I'm super excited to bring a brand new episode of our Super Connectors podcast with a very special VIP guest, Simon. Hey Simon, great to have you on the show.
Hi Mike, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. So Simon, could you tell us a bit more about what it means for you to be a super connector?
It means doing what I've always done, but in a professional context. I've always liked connecting people, and I found as my career progressed as a technology lawyer that actually it's beneficial from a professional point as well.
And so what kind of introductions do you like to make typically? What is your day job? How do you connect people? How does that all work together?
Well, most of my clients are SMEs, technology SMEs, lots of them, over 100. And what they really don't have are two things. One is they don't have necessarily the legal expertise they need, but what they also need is somebody who's been there, met lots of people and can direct them to the people who can help them with their businesses. So I spend a lot of my time making connections for people, whether they need accountants, whether they need corporate finance, whether they need people to sit on their boards. These are people I've met, I've sorted the wheat from the chaff over the years, and I can be very useful. I can shortcut the route to finding the right people.
And so what was your journey to get there? Were you always a super connector? Did you become that over time in your personal life, your professional life? Like, what's the journey of Simon to become a super connector?
I think we have to step back one generation. My mother was a super connector.
Yeah.
She did it on the social level. She just loved connecting people, trying to find people who could help other people. And I got it from her. So I sort of, even, when I was a lot younger, I was connecting people on the social path. But when I was in a big city firm, as I used to be, there wasn't scope for that. There was no interest really in somebody being an individual and helping you meet other people. Nobody needed to meet anybody else. It was to get the job done, and that was all that was really all that counted. When I gravitated towards SMEs, I found that completely different. Yeah. Young entrepreneurs who didn't have my connections, needed to meet people, and I could play to my sort of social strengths in a professional capacity.
And so how did that evolve over time? Did you build your own personal network, going to lots of networking events, or were you introduced to people, you then introduced to other people? How did that all work together?
I suppose initially I used to go to lots of events, and I built my network like that, and then I proved myself to be useful, and people started introducing me to other people, and then I didn't need to go to the events anymore. I run my own events now, because as a professional kind of person, as a lawyer, if you are providing your own sort of information and your own events, people come to you as a source of information, and in my case, a source of connections. If you go to somebody else's event, you just reduce to a salesman, and I don't really want to do that. It's not interesting, it's a waste of my time. So I'm much better at sort of creating my own events and being in a position, sort of a fulcrum, if you like, for other people to meet.
Cool. And so right now, what is your approach to networking nowadays, and how do you value all these connections you're receiving or making?
I don't know how I value them. It's a bit random. But what I'm seeking to do the whole time is to make myself useful, because I enjoy doing it, and also because it's professionally beneficial, because people think, he's not just a lawyer saying what a great lawyer he is, he's a lawyer who actually makes a difference in our business. He thinks about the different aspects. He brings his business now to bear and helps us to develop our own businesses. He tries to steer us away from people who aren't necessarily positive for our business and towards the right people. So I suppose it's a virtuous circle, trying to make the right connections for people, being valuable even at times when they don't need any legal input. So when they do need legal input, hopefully they think of you.
Exactly. So it's really creating your brand, personal brand as a helper. You're always helping other people. So they obviously think of you as the amazing lawyer who's always helping. And it is important when you connect people, you make introductions, to build that personal brand as a helper. You're always there to help others, connect people, make the world a better place. But at some point, you have to monetize somehow, or other people have to monetize some of these connections. So how do you walk that fine line between building your personal brand as a helper, as a connector, but also somehow monetizing and making a business out of it?
Well, I suppose what happens is after you've made a lot of connections for people, and I'm always paying it forward, I'm always making connections for people before they make connections for me. But at some stage, some of those people you'll start becoming part of their inner networks, and they'll think of you when they come across an opportunity for a lawyer. So I'll get introduced by people I haven't seen for 2 or 3 years because they happen to be talking to somebody, or they happen to be in some sort of internet group, and somebody says, "Do you know a good lawyer who specializes in technology?" And I get all sorts of random introductions from all sorts of people, half of which are interesting, half of which are not. But I always try and help people, even if they're not directly relevant to the sort of things I do. I try and make a good connection for them so somebody else will benefit.
That's great. And so how do you track all these introductions you make and receive? Do you have like a system? Do you have a platform? Do you have like a spreadsheet?
I'm extremely random. I should track it all better, but in a way I feel the randomness adds a bit to the sort of, the way I do things. If it felt too structured, too sort of orchestrated, it wouldn't be natural. It wouldn't come so much from the heart. So I just like to do it when I do it. That might be an excuse for being a disorganized person, although I don't think generally I am. But in terms of introductions, it is a bit more sort of haphazard, a bit more question of feeling. I just feel that two people will get on together, because it's all very well matching people on their requirements, but if you don't think the people are going to get on together, it's not going to work. So it's kind of it's a human thing, assessing what sort of person will get on with what sort of person, as well as having sort of professional complementarity, so they'll get on together and find each other helpful in their journeys.
Exactly. And so what do you think it changed when you see new platforms like IntroStars, where people can track all the introductions they make and receive and guarantee they get paid a referral commission, a reward, if a deal comes out of it? How does that change the whole networking and introduction world for other people around you, for startup founders, or for people you know, or for yourself?
Well, I think it's an extra incentive to think about other people in the context of professional introductions and sort of even social introductions occasionally, which might turn into professional work. As a lawyer, we don't take referral fees and commission, but that doesn't affect me. I just do it because I like doing it, and because it's also good for business. So something like IntroStars is useful because it's sort of a more systematic way to do it. As I said, I'm somewhat random. Having a slightly less random element to what I do can only sort of enhance what I do, but whilst keeping the sort of the human element to it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all about humans first, right? It's all about human-to-human connections. That's really the most important thing. But having platforms and tools just makes it a bit more efficient and makes sure that everyone's a winner, everyone gets fairly compensated when a value is created for everyone, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the whole thing about IntroStars. It makes the world go round that much faster. It gives more of an incentive to people to think about whom they could help in their circle. And some people like me, because of my professional bar from taking referral fees, and also because I just don't want to operate quite like that, I do it anyway. But this makes it happen with lots more people, and therefore it'll help other people to make referrals, and that also helps my network, because if everybody's doing it, everyone's thinking of everybody else, everyone benefits ultimately.
Exactly, everyone's a winner. So do you see any trends in networking and connections and referrals, and how do these trends affect your approach to networking and connecting people?
I'm a bit of an island in as much as I don't really know what's going on in other people's world necessarily. I just have my own network and people make referrals. So I'm not sure if I can see trends, but certainly the more referrals I make to people, the more I get back. Now, often those are completely indirect. So I might refer one person to one person, and then somebody contacts me and I say, it was great, you made this referral to me, but how did it come about? They say, well, such and such introduced me to you. They said you're a good person in your field of technology law. And I don't even know who that person is. So if I want to, I have to track it back 2 or 3 links to find out who referred me. So somebody's mentioned me to somebody who's mentioned me to somebody else who's ultimately mentioned me to somebody who needed me. So it's very indirect. It's not necessarily bilateral, it can be very much multilateral.
Yep. No, for sure. I mean, every introduction leads to something else, which leads to something else, right? And it's a bit of that serendipitous journey to get to new opportunities, either way. And so, no, that's what I love about networking as well, is the kind of that you never know where it's going to go, but there's always, new opportunities being opened every day by every introduction you make and receive. So
one thing I do find, talking about serendipity, is I found quite often that I'll get referred by 2 completely different people to the same potential client or connection. And that, of course, validates who I am, because one person may have an agenda. 2 people independently referring you to somebody else, that's really endorsement. So I find that happens more and more, and it's very pleasing to know I get around enough to know all sorts of different people who then end up referring me to the same person. Because if you've got 2 people referring you, you're almost certainly going to end up with that as person, company as a client. One person, it's random, it may or may not happen.
No, for sure. And clearly it's about your personal brand image as a helper, as the tech lawyer who helps other people and SMBs and startups. So no, you've built that personal brand really well. So what are you working on right now? Any big projects for the next couple of months or years? Any big thing you're looking forward to? And how can people find out about it?
Well, I suppose I try, like marketing people say, to have as many touch points with the people I want to be in contact with as possible. So I run all sorts of events. I run virtual roundtables, largely targeted at helping companies through their journey and ultimately exiting and avoiding the legal and commercial traps that people fall down en route. So that's one thing. I have these virtual roundtables on a very regular basis, about 15 or 16 a year. Then I also sort of run peer groups where I get people who've got common issues, usually technology SME founders who don't have anyone to talk to. And they could join one of these professional groups and pay a fee, or they could just come along to one of my peer networking groups, and we spend an hour every month or 2 months just talking about the issues that come up, the problems they have, and they share it on a Chatham House basis. So those are initiatives which I have on a regular basis. And occasionally I have one-offs, I'll do something because somebody asks me to sit on a panel, somebody asks me to create a panel, and I'll have a meeting in person at my office or a breakfast. And I always try and keep these things pretty short because nobody's got an attention span anymore. We've all got ADHD. So let's keep everything down to an hour, and that's enough for everybody.
Yeah, and where can people find out about all these events and roundtables and networking groups? Do you have a website? Do you have a social media? Where can people follow you?
Well, I'm a bit primitive. It's a bit strange. I'm a bit of a Luddite despite being head of technology law, so I don't really have a very sort of sophisticated methodology for disseminating the information. Usually what happens is people get referred to me and I say, if I've got their email address, then I'll send them the details of what I'm doing, what I'm up to. If they don't have their email address, I'll ask the person who's introduced us to make an email introduction, and then I'll send them the whole list of things I'm doing. It's a concise list of the round tables. I've got a list of about 70 non-executive people who act on a fractional basis for technology companies. So if somebody's at an early stage of founding a business, they want a good board, but they don't have unlimited budget. They want the right people for one day a week, not the wrong people for every day of the month. Then I can provide them with that list. So there's all sorts of things, all sorts of little initiatives, and some help some people, some help other people. So as long as I've got enough things going around, I'm spinning enough plates, then that's really my system. And it could call it, it's a strange system, but it seems to work quite well.
So if technology founders or startup founders or SME directors or owners want to reach out to you and be added to your email distribution list for all these cool events, where can they reach you?
Best through my email address, which boringly I'll tell you, it's simon.halberstam, spelt in a strange way, but I'm sure that'll be on your podcast, and at smb.london, which is my firm. Not my own firm, but I'm one of the partners there.
Cool, very easy. Well, thank you so much, Simon. Really appreciate all your pearls of wisdom and your incredible journey and all the great work you're doing really to help all these startup founders and SME founders to get all the advice they need and get great connections as well. Thanks again and great to have you on the show.
Well, thank you. And it's great to be part of IntraStars.
Thanks so much, Simon. Take care.